better Africa and world. This remains pivotal for our definitive and outright victory. The NEC has instructed government to spare no effort in executing these priorities. We call on all our members and South Africans at home and abroad to defend our freedom and advance a better life for all. Registering to vote this weekend, 3 and 4th of February, to lay the ground for unveiling of the People's Manifesto at the Moses Mabhida Stadium in Durban on the 24th of February 2024. The NEC was delighted to receive the news that the 2023 National Certificate Pass Rate had reached an impressive 82.9%, marking an improvement from the previous year's 80.1%. The NEC also commended the learners for their resilience and dedication to progress. The NEC also commended the teachers for their hard work in guiding the learners to achieve this result. We congratulate everybody in the Department of Basic Education, the minister, staff, and department officials across the length and breadth of our country for this ever-improving results of our matriculants. These outstanding results reaffirm the ANC's belief that the dedicated and persistent efforts made over the past 30 years are bearing fruit and paving the way for sustained progress towards achieving the Freedom Charter resolution that the doors of learning and culture shall be open to all. The NEC expressed concern regarding the ongoing rise in extreme weather events, particularly in regions such as KwaZulu-Natal and the Eastern Cape, where the consequences are consistently severe, given the recent devastating floods that led to a state of disaster declaration. The NEC extended heartfelt condolences to the families and friends of those who tragically lost their lives. In urging the government to take decisive action, the National Executive Committee stressed the significance of enhanced long-term urban planning, improved land use management, a more effective disaster management system, and the ability to accurately focus and mitigate the risks. The NEC raised concerns about the sale of personal belongings that once belonged to former President Nelson Mandela, our iconic leader. We have urged the government to address broader issues surrounding the preservation of our cultural heritage as a whole, with a specific focus on the struggle for liberation. This call emphasizes the importance of safeguarding our history and ensuring that it remains accessible to future generations. To this extent, we urge government, Department of Arts and Culture, to engage with the former president's family across and engage with the purpose of finding solution to some of the issues that might be lingering on in terms of family and government relations in the preservation of President Mandela's artifacts. The ANC Electoral Committee has provided an update on the progress of candidate selection process for the upcoming 2024 national and provincial elections. According to the committee, the process is running smoothly and is expected to be completed by mid-February 2024. Once the candidate selection process is finalized, the extended NEC will convene to review and approve the final lists of candidates. The meeting of the extended NEC is scheduled in the near future, allowing sufficient time for the candidate selection process to be completed. This meeting is crucial as it will determine the final composition of the ANC's candidates lists for the national and provincial elections. In the meanwhile, the ANC has completed its consolidation of the framework on the Integrity Commission, thus paving the way for accelerated and beyond reproach implementation of processes to uphold the integrity of the organization. The National Executive Committee have received the guidelines of the ANC, which were tabled to the National Executive Committee by the Secretary General on the step-aside rule. These guidelines were adopted by the previous National Executive Committee. They were tabled to the NEC, which NEC adopted. The NEC also adopted the terms of reference of the Integrity Committee. These terms of reference will guide the work of the Integrity Commission going forward. All reports in relation to integrity were tabled as well from the previous National Executive Committee, and the reports that are outstanding. Now, going forward, the Integrity Commission will work with ease, having terms of reference that guide the operations and functioning of the Integrity Commission. The Secretary General will convene a meeting with the Integrity Commission to present to them the terms of reference as adopted by the National Executive Committee, as well as the affirmation of the step-aside guidelines as adopted by the National Executive Committee. We did not discuss individual cases as it is not our call. The NEC discussed cases as and when they are presented before it by the Secretary General after the NEC have discussed the cases. So in this instance, we wish to outline that the NEC is yet to process some of the cases that have been processed recently by the Integrity Commission, but others, in terms of the new National Executive Committee, have been processed. The Zondo Commission matter has been deferred to the Disciplinary Committee. About 90 candidates, about 90 people who appeared before Zondo Commission, their cases have been handed over to the Disciplinary Committee. Tina Jumat was cleared by the Integrity Commission in this particular instance. Other outstanding matters with regard to the Integrity Commission will be dealt with as and when the matters have been finalized and presented to the SG, which the NEC will reflect on and take a decision on those matters of the Integrity Commission. In addition to the candidate selection process, all provinces are required to organize extended provincial PECs and so on. In this particular instance, most of these meetings have already taken place in most of the provinces. What the Electoral Committee is dealing with at the present moment is the processing of the matters that arise from those meetings of the extended PEC by way of intervention informed by the guidelines of the ANC's electoral process. It is worth noting that the ANC will announce the premier candidates post the election process. All hands on deck focused on the election process. The leader and the head of the ANC election campaign in the face is President Ramaphosa, and as we get into this election, it is worth noting that in the Western Cape as well, the ANC is examining the possibility of an exception in relation to that province, since the African National Congress there in the Western Cape is not in power. The National Executive Committee has taken a decision to protect the party's integrity and reputation on the matter of former President Mr Jacob Zuma. We have followed the provisions in Rule 25 of the ANC Constitution to address the situation, as indicated in our previous media statement. We have considered the severity of the alleged violation or misconduct and the likelihood of further misconduct. The NEC is committed to upholding organizational discipline and preserving the ANC's constitutional framework. The NEC acknowledges the rise in the number of students receiving financial assistance from the National Financial Aid Scheme. However, there are concerns about the governance issues within NSFAS and how it may impact in their ability to effectively support students. We engaged with the Minister of Higher Education, Comrade Clayton Zimande, and some of the concerns that are there in terms of NSFAS and its operations and governance issues have been raised with him. The ANC is particularly concerned about the delays in student allowance payments. It is essential for NSFAS to prioritize timely payment for living expenses, transportation and accommodation for students. In order to strengthen the capacity of the state, the ANC advocates for centralized payment for all state disbursements, including those from NSFAS. This approach can benefit from the experiences of organizations like SASSA and the Post Office in disbursing grants. The ANC commends the allocation of 3.8 billion towards a comprehensive student funding model that targets students, quote unquote, from the missing middle segment. Furthermore, the ANC welcomed the allocation of 4.2 billion rand to facilitate the registration process for students, ensuring a smooth start to the academic year. To address the pressing issue of student accommodation, the state should take responsibility for the construction of suitable infrastructure by exploring human settlement models and utilizing existing resources in the public works sector. Departments can collaborate to establish state-owned accommodations. This approach is crucial as neither the market nor the private sector prioritize resolving the student accommodation crisis due to profit motives. Furthermore, it is crucial for a long-term and comprehensive higher education and training plan to account for projected increases in the number of successful matriculants in relation to available spaces in higher education institutions. The NEC noted South Africa's comprehensive victory at the International Court of Justice at the center of a shift in the global balance of forces. At this moment in time, it is not just Israel which is on the trial, but international law itself. Furthermore, we reject attempts to characterize our work as that which is a proxy for Hamas on any other nation or any other nation state. This work is consistent with our ethos to engender a better Africa and a better world. The underlying pillars of this better Africa, better world ethos is a determination to ensure that multilateral institutions apply the international rule of law-based system equally across all nations. We have equally noted attempts to elasticize the term anti-Semitism, demanding that Israel act in accordance with international law framework. Is not an attack on Jewish people, it is an invocation of law. The ANC is highly heartened by the overwhelming support for the justice for the Palestinians by ordinary people from across the world, even on countries that have been indifferent on the unfolding genocide. This massive support by ordinary people gives hope that a better world is not only possible but is within our reach as humanity. The ANC successfully hosted a conference that aimed to foster solidarity between Cuba and Africa. Cuba's involvement in the liberation movements of our nation and countries in Africa has been instrumental even today. Cuba faces repercussions for taking a strong stance against apartheid and colonialism. Through this conference, we had an opportunity to actively support Cuba and work towards ending the unjust economic blockade that has persisted for 64 years. Our relationship with Cuba has always been marked by friendship, cooperation, and unyielding solidarity. We do not know acts of terrorism insofar as Cuba is concerned. The Lekgotla deliberated also on a number of issues. One of those is basic services, local government, and infrastructure. We took a number of resolutions with a clear directive to our public representative to intensify work in relation to roll out a comprehensive program by COCTA and all other departments on the rollout of service delivery projects at the level of a different municipality. We urge government to implement the Energy Action Plan, which remains the primary basis of our response to electricity challenges. We are encouraged by a semblance of organization in fighting and doing away with load shedding. As asserted by the President, the Economic Recovery Plan and Reconstruction Plan has been rolled out by government and it is gaining momentum. The ANC welcomes government efforts to manage and ensure that blended finance are put in place and will draw on the participation of private sector in energy and water infrastructure. The department is currently rolling out major housing projects through front-loading approach. The Connect to Connect rural communities is now in full swing. The implementation of Welisizwe bridges, which have been implemented in the Free State, Northwest Limpopo, Mpumalanga, Eastern Cape, and KwaZulu-Natal. We've got more than 90 bridges in the rural areas that have been rolled out. The ANC is determined to fast-track the resolution of both load shedding and logistics challenges and to boost production levels and volumes of exports, respectively, so that the true growth potential of the South African economy can be unleashed. Despite severe electricity and logistical challenges, which have constrained economic growth, the South African economy registered growth which demonstrated its resilience. The economy has surpassed pre-COVID-19 pandemic levels, both in terms of size and number of people employed. However, economic growth levels remain and unemployment remains high. By the end March 2024, the MTSF that guided the sixth administration in implementing its mandate will reach its expiry. To stimulate sustainable growth in the long run, there is a need for a national industrial strategy that will form the core of our growth strategies. This will find expression in the manifesto between now and the elections. The ANC government will accelerate the implementation intervention to stimulate economic recovery and the creation of jobs. Industrialization is an engine for economic growth. It has been emphasized from time to time that the exporting of raw materials without beneficiation is quite detrimental in terms of the economic growth of our country. Lip service and talk is over. We need to ensure that industrialization as an intervention is implemented by our government going forward. Land and agriculture is key. The ANC government has implemented a large-scale program of land restitution and land redistribution, with about 24% of farmland in South Africa now owned by black farmers. The agricultural economy has grown strongly over the past 3 decades, creating many thousands of jobs. By December 2023, the sector employed 956,000 individuals, the highest level ever recorded since 1994. Moreover, agricultural exports increased, with exports being supplied to more than 181 countries across the world. As such, the Department of Agriculture will embark on food security drive, targeting rural areas and townships, provision of garden tools and water tanks to village and township farmers and households, mitigate the effects of load shedding on farmers through the rollout of the Agro-Energy Fund. Small-scale commercial farmers qualify for 500,000, medium-scale farmers for 1 million, and large-scale commercial farmers for 1.5 million. And we've seen this taking place in provinces like the Free State on a large scale. Small business development will recognize that the economy we cannot talk about growth in the economy without emphasis on small, medium, macro enterprises. So the investment in small business is very important. We have urged government to move with speed to roll out intervention to support small businesses, and there is a detailed plan, financial plan of government to intervene in this regard, and we are encouraged by the efforts of SMME department in the rollout of this work. Mining also remains the pillar of the South African economy. Mining is the sector without which the energy transition will not be possible. In this case, mining is a sunrise industry. This means that as a country, we must increase exploration, especially for critical transition minerals. Energy security remains key in terms of the implementation of our electricity security plan that has been rolled out by government. We have urged government to move with speed and support the massification of the National Youth Service Program. This year, the Department of Women, Children and People with Disabilities and the Youth will roll out a massive program of National Youth Service, working with the Departments of Defense in our country. This is a massive program which we as the ANC, we welcome, and we congratulate the department and the ministry and government in rolling out this massive project of National Youth Service Program. This will focus on the auto sector, maritime, oceans economy stream, and will focus on engineering and construction. So this is a very exciting program for young people who will be absorbed in their thousands in terms of the National Youth Service Program. We congratulate Bafana Bafana. They are continuing with their brilliance, and we look forward to them taking the battle all the way to the finishing line. And we say, go forth, Bafana Bafana, strike like an arrow. Our team have taken off from the bad start to becoming a team to be reckoned of in this competition. And we thank all South Africans, and we join them in this instance for putting their weight and believing in the team. And indeed, it is for everyone to see that the team is now moving and transitioning to becoming a bunch of winners. In this instance, we remain hopeful that our team can reach the finals of the Africa Cup of Nations. Up to this far, we are very proud of Bafana Bafana. condolences and well wishes. Our deepest sympathies go out to the family and friends of Comrade Violet Siwela, a member of the National Executive Committee. Noli Makhanyoga, Mashao McDonald Sitabula Mante Petha, Pelom Margaret Rakubu, Lekina Mapula, and Bongekile Mahlangu. The NEC would like to express its heartfelt condolences during this difficult time. We understand the pain and sorrow that comes with losing loved ones, and we stand with you in your grief. May their memories bring you comfort and strength in the days ahead. Thank you very much.